Number one, many of you do not know what the name Osa I stands for. And I'm going to explain that right now. Osa I stands for original, sacred, order, inner circle, empire of the Most High.
That in itself is, how should I say, a particular name that is extremely ancient that many know nothing about. It has its significance amongst what you would refer to as the 24 elders, of which I am the 13th. I am Protestant in that circle.
And we are not a separate group, listen, that are standing outside of the Nuwaubian nation. All of us are Nuwaubians, first and foremost. And then we are Anuwaubians, meaning we take the name of Anu and put it out front. Now, if you declare yourself a Nuwaubian, then you know that you have rendered your life and your services to the Most High. And there are many of you who do not, and at the same time who do recognize the name of Anu as being the name of the Most High. Why? Because it comes from out of the cuneiform, which is the oldest dating language on the planet, which predates your Semitic tongue, be they Hebrew, Greek, or Arabia. You see, the information is also like putting out, number one, cannot be muted out and or denied. There is no one else amongst you in this day and time that's putting out new information. You see, we're going to be putting out a show called Who Else Is Doing It, where we will address who else is putting out new information. And if indeed this information has been fabricated, then that means it can be done. And if I can do it, then you can do it too. And what I say to you is, produce the likeness thereof. Listen, because if anybody thinks that we here at the Osa I can sit around and fabricate this level of information, that person isn't a fool. That person's worse than a fool, because that's impossible. Nor do we have, the time to waste our time or yours to even want to do something like that. So again, if it's fabricated, then that means it can be done. And if it can be done, then that means you can do it. And if you can do it, then produce the likeness thereof. You see? And you will not be able to do it, because this information cannot be muted out and or denied. And if indeed you feel it can be, then produce the likeness thereof, is what I say to you all right now. Because ain't none of y'all putting out anything new. And ain't none of y'all able to, stand against what's being said. Not one.
To set things up for the time frame we're in right now. Well, I'm going to, let me tell you something. We're going to give you a new information. The Osa I, Atun, that's right. And what know it's going to be called right now knowledge. But it don't pertain to the things that's going on right now. Get it out my face. Why did we give you that first? Well, let me tell you why. The why is not a question. Because any of y'all want to know why, all you have to do is answer one question. You will have the answer to every why you ever asked in your entire life. Answer this. Why is why? And I'm going to tell you this. In this life alone, took me 3 years to answer that, and it was put to me by the other masters who I sat with that Baba made mention of in the letter he wrote that I posted for all eyes to see. Right there in the beginning of the letter, it says, I'm happy to see that you have sat with those other masters. I'm especially happy to see that you have sat with my Native American Indian brother, who is a master as well, and he is the 5th elder on the Cedar Council. Pieces who are sent by the Most High, or our people come from out of the mud, my brother. Answer, because that's where all the lessons are. See, I didn't go to the Ivy League school like Harvard, Princeton, or Yale. No, I went to an Ivy League school called, the School of Hard Knocks. I've been in every type of penitentiary America has to offer. There ain't nothing that America can't do to me that they ain't already done. And except for kill me, and ooh, I'm scared. Listen, if indeed I was so scared, why would I be on the net talking about the Illuminati and their mama? We're talking about the greatest killers on the planet, better than the mafia could ever be. Who do you think the Knights of Templar are? The Knights of Templar, y'all, are alchemical assassins. And the way they kill, let me tell you how they kill. They kill where it looks natural. It's, naturally occurring. What do you think they did to Matin and Marine? They say them brothers died from cancer. No, I don't think so. And or they create situations by which it looks like an accident. You're riding along the highway in a car that, drives just fine, and all of a sudden, boom, the tire blows out and you go off the side of the bridge. And it's all in the newspaper. Man dies accidentally. And or they just outright do you. You go outside, you stick your key in the car, and boom, you exist no more. but to lie if, it asked about any secrets that ain't secrets no more, because we put up, let me tell you, the Osa I made history. Never in the history of Freemasonry has anyone ever got a hold of their books and put them out on the net for the entire world to see. And that alone is enough for them to want me dead. Don't you think so? I am Atun. And what we at the Osa I have managed to do is to put out an information that you all have never heard before. We're not funded by the federal government, nor have we or ever will be. And the Illuminati is trying to kill me. So whatever you can spare in the way of a donation, whether it be a nickel, a dime, or even a penny, to see what it is that we will say next and to keep me alive, because I'm running now, y'all. Check this out. And it's not a joke, it's very real. They're trying to kill me. And they will, if indeed my family does not show some support. And this is a informative situation by which we here at Osa I are hoping that you all step forward. Let me just say like this. I spoke last night about when I first, all of this started, and I'm going to continue from the place that I was initially speaking from last Shadow Hour. If I'm not mistaken, I was talking about the first elder that I sat with in a place called 100 Rice Street, awaiting to see a judge right there in Fulton County, Georgia. And that was right before I was extradited back to the state of California, because I had overwent a situation by which I stood charges here in the state of California. Initially, I got a hung jury. Now, mind you, it was a armed robbery that I didn't commit. And for lack of a better way to put it, I got a hung jury the very first time. I presented a surprise witness on the next trial that would be considered a expert witness, dealt with the handling. Reason being is because my wife and I at that time was doing promotion. A fellow by the name of Keith Napier here in the state of California worked for a group who had contracts with Priority Records and No Limit. At that time, prior to actually being arrested, promotion for an artist by the name of B-Shot. And the work that I had done for them and another group of rappers by the name of the Delinquents who performed for Priority Records, my work became noticed, and ultimately I was offered opportunity to work for Master P, but I would have to return to the state of California, and I did. Myself, my mate at that time, whose name was Kalika, and my son, whose name is Kareem. The police showed up at my door at 2 o'clock in the morning and ultimately took me in behind the mere fact that the person who had been robbed, and asked me to come outside, and they brought the guy, and he was in a vehicle that was down the stairs, and the light up on me, and he asked him was I robbed, and he said, no, I think that's him. And I said, officer, it's cold outside. Would it be all right if I go back in? And I was the victim didn't say, wait a minute, by the sound of it, I think that's him. They arrested me, and to fully trial on that. They were trying to give me 16 years with 85% at that time. And what happened was I got a hung jury. I was released. My then wife, had informed me all that. The head of the Latin Boys Choir, very, very beautiful being by the name of Blanche Weaver. And before bringing her out to California, I like you very much. Always taking my daughter a long way from home. And I'm going to say this before you leave, which is don't let nothing happen to my daughter. Because if indeed you do, you will see a side of me that you will not like. And I assured him with every bit of my being that nothing would happen to his daughter, because I loved her as much as I'm sure he did and does. And every bit of what I said was quite true. When I came home, after having the hung jury, the sister had, for lack of a better way to put it, not conducted her business properly, to which she said was done behind the fact that she was extremely depressed and she was 3 months behind in the rent. There was a notice of eviction that had been applied, put on the door. For lack of a better way to put it, it became clear and evident that the best thing for me to do would be to have to take her back to Georgia. So I drove her, California, all the way back to Atlanta, at which time that's when her and I were separated, as I described, by virtue of her mother asking, can she bring my son to be with her for a little while? And I complied, and as a result, I never saw my son again, which, like I told you all last night, drove me to a bathtub, not wanting to live any further because I was extremely hurt, and I had been through a whole lot prior to that. And that's sort of where everything started, and the journey sort of took flight. And like I said, I went on a journey that had been peppered, littered, and laced with many gifts and surprises that I, as a being, had absolutely no idea would ever come about and or occur. That took me to the tutorage of 3 other elders, of whom Baba had spoken about as being amongst those elders who were on the planet, and many never took the time to ask where. Well, these elders, each one I sat with while in the confines of the penal system of the United States of America. I've, as a being, have suffered. I did state time on the East Coast, I did state time on the West Coast, and I've been in the Fed. America can't do anything more to me that it hasn't already done besides kill me, for lack of a better way to put it. I think is exactly where they are sort of leading towards at this particular point. And to no surprise, because I'm quite sure I was very, very angry if some little light-skinned Negro came along and put my books all out on the net for everybody to read. If indeed, out of the Freemasons, for all these centuries, we have been able to enjoy the type of secrecies that we have been able to enjoy, and here comes along a being who thinks that he's going to be able to do that and get away with it. Well, we at the Osa I did that, and that alone has pissed them off. But again, I knew the job was dangerous when I took it, and I have no problem, doing the exact same thing that Baba is doing for this nation, you see, to see to it that you all are able to continue on in your lives. Because whether you know it or not, there's a thing called the 24 Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion that was written early in the 14th, 15th century that talk, very, very explicitly about the entire genocide of our race. And again, why? Because these people have declared themselves global management, which is why they are the very beings who orchestrated your World War I, orchestrated your World War II, the Korean War, and your Vietnam War too. And why? Because they say that this planet ever so often needs to be rid of certain impurities. Well, in this day and time, the impurities that they are saying that this planet needs to be rid of is us, meaning people of color. Why? Because they consider us and our children to be what they call threats to public safety. You see, and again, because whether you like it or not, these beings have already declared that they're going to have an all-white planet. How are you going to have an all-white planet if your women can't have no children? Won't last too long. And the reality of it is, we have already explained in great detail in the Ishtar file that what they're after is a thing called fertility. And you all know, because Baba said, not me, that they are hybrid. And the information about Ashtar Command was scattered throughout our doctrine. Many of it, most of it, many of you all seen, and a lot of it, many of you all didn't. And never once took into consideration any of this until the Osa I presented it. We are the beings who are here to set the record straight. There is not one letter that goes out of any penitentiary here in America that is not read by the police and or the administration of the prison. These things are scrutinized under a microscope, so to say, not literally, but an eye that it would be the equivalent. They pick things apart and they read things in and read things out, and many situations occur that are not valid as a result of these people doing these things. And, the ability to communicate clearly with your people in those places becomes almost virtually impossible. By Baba having been incarcerated prior to this incarceration, he in every way was familiar with that. You know what I mean? And you have to know also, again, all that we all are experiencing right now was very much so part of a bigger plan called the Plan of the Most High, by which we as a people would indeed sit in our rightful place, because there is no being amongst us who will ever rule if indeed first you have not served. I had been incarcerated there at Fulton County Jail, and I had sat with the very first master with whom I earned 3 rules. And the total of numbers, like in other words, the amount of rules in their totality that I received, at the end of the journey equals out to be number 13. Number 13, this traveled with me over the entire journey. After I got out of Fulton County Jail, after sitting with the first elder, I earned 3 rules. The 3 rules were: 1, love, because without love we have nothing. 2, tell the truth. Why? Because truth is made to be told, even if it be against thyself. And 3, you must master the difference between looking and seeing. Why? Because all things are relevant, meaning pertaining to the matter at hand. First 3 rules I earned, and then there came a day where this elder came to me and he said to me, my time with you is up. In 7 days I will be leaving. I'm like, wait a minute, bro. I know your release date. I know when you go to court. In 7 days you ain't going nowhere. Nigga, we locked up. You forgot? He said, no. You got it messed up. I told you why I was here. And the only reason I'm here is because of you. And I'm telling you, my time is up with you. And after me, there will be another who will take you the rest of the way. Do not look for him to be a member of this organization, because it can be anybody. He said, but you'll know. You'll know exactly when they have come. Shown up 7 days later, here it was, the brother's name was called, and they told him, pack it up, and he was gone. And let me tell you something, I cried real tears when that being was taken from me. Why? Because I learned to love him completely, with a type of love that here today, I've yet to be able to forget. And let me tell you all something, when I got out of the pen, I went looking for this being. On the net, did ran the search, for missing friends, and blah, blah, this, and blah, blah, that. Let me tell you something, it's like the brain never existed, like he's not nowhere on the planet. And that same thing rings true in reference to this next being that I was introduced to, whose name was Charles Blaze. You see? Now, who was the next elder, of which I then earned 6 more rules that you all will see in a book which is yet to come, that has already been written. The totality of 9 rules, and he first taught me in this life, or should I say retaught me, how to see the colors of the aura as seen around everyone's head and or body once the vibrational frequency speeds up. And he taught me how to speed the vibrational frequency up, listen, to a certain degree, merely by running a particular type of fast that is not the type of fast that you all have seen. And not only will do it a certain way, and it's quite difficult. I fasted for 27 days and drank nothing but water. And I'm not talking about only doing daylight hours. And again, when you say fast, you're saying, refraining away from food, right? But, what you forget is that fast is spelled F-A-S-T, which is the exact opposite of slow. And which, again, is because this is one of the means by which to speed up the vibrational frequency, but it will only do it for so much. I earned 9 more rules from him, and then were extradited from Fulton County by the federal government as a courtesy to the state of California to come back to California to face yet another trial, because they were refiling against me on the armed robbery charge. First off, I was taken to Atlanta Federal Penitentiary and slept in the very same cell, the very same bed that Baba, not a year or 2 later, would come to sleep in while he was at that same facility. Don't believe me? Check it out. The name of the pen was ASP, Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, and find out what cell he slept in, what bed he slept in, then go in there and find the name Mark Brady and find out where Mark Brady slept, and then you'll see that too. Now, that should be a little something to convince you. I'm not sure, maybe not, because really I'm not trying to convince you. I'm trying to get you all to have compassion again and to start to be able to do a divine thing called to think, because time for you all has long since ran out. And let me tell you something, the hourglass has long been empty. Okay, now, I get to Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. I stayed there for a short period of time, at which time they flew me on an airplane, sort of like the one you see in a movie called Con Air, to a place called Oklahoma Federal Penitentiary. And let me tell you all something. This place was an airport. The plane lands in the middle of the yard, and you got the U.S. Marshal standing on the grass with bulletproof everything and M16. And a little tube comes out, it connects to the side of the plane. You walk through the tube. 200 beings walk through the tube, shackled up, and boom, you're in the penitentiary. State-of-the-art facility, carpet on the floor, police calling you Mr. This and Mr. That. And let me tell you something. The beings in this place had more money than most. My cell buddy had $120,000 on his books to go to the store. I was in there with senators and John Gotti's mom and people like that. People who have the type of money that most will never see in their lifetime. Because the Fed is a horse of a different color. You get free cosmetics, free toothpaste, toothpaste. You get 2 trays with every meal, a hot and a cold. Like at breakfast, they might give you, cornflakes and, a honey bun on one tray. And on the other tray, they give you pancakes, eggs, and sauce. Yo, let me tell you something, you don't get that in state facilities. And the little rooms look like hotel rooms. Really made up nice. Why? Because you're in the feds now. And that's a difference. And I'm going to tell you something else. When I got there, as soon as I got there, Dean walked up on me and said, yo, I hear you got 9 rules. I'm like, whoa, who are you? And how do you know? He said, doesn't matter. I'm here to give you your 10th one. Do you want it? These are the types of things that I experienced on the road to my, remembering the who it is that I am. And not one of these things that I'm telling you is not true. And again, if indeed an iota of it is false, may the Most High take all my blessings in every way and every day. And trust me, family, I would not curse myself just to kick it. Because I know that in that, nothing good would come. Now, I got my 10th rule with a being, stayed in Oklahoma Federal Penitentiary for a short while. Then I was moved and flown into a place called Travis Air Force Base here in California and taken to San Quentin. After that, I went to a facility that was called Avenal, that was in Kings County on 1 Kings Highway. And there I experienced a thing called valley fever that almost took my life. Well, they have a place in ancient Tamaray that these beings refer to as the Valley of the Kings, where all the pharaohs are buried. And while they're on 1 Kings Highway in Kings County, California, I experienced valley fever, and at the temperature of 103 degrees, I had my first glimpse and or glimmer of a time that had gone by, where I saw my wedding to Ishtar, or who became known as Ishtar, who then became known as Isis, and she wore the mask of Inanna that I didn't even know existed. And let me tell you all something. Not a week later, I saw it in National Geographic. Same mask, but not the real. And yeah, I saw her face, which is why and how, when I met Lakeisha, I knew exactly who she was. What occurred after Charles Blaze, I earned 6 more rules with him, and that gave me the total of 9. They flew me to a place called Oklahoma Federal Penitentiary, El Reno. Was the name of the facility. State-of-the-art facility, carpet on the floors. Like I told you, while in the feds, it's totally different from being in state facilities. It's like the difference between the Ramada Inn and the Salvation Army. Quite a difference in terms of how the different facilitators of the facility act towards its people who are incarcerated there, because most of the people who are incarcerated in the feds are very, very wealthy, while most of the people who are incarcerated in the state are just normal people like you and me. And I realized in retrospect that the elders was taking me through all this because I'm about to write a book that's called Prayer, the Penal System, and the Pineal Gland. And in it, I'm going to explain everything about the public defender's office, going to trial, the prosecuting attorney, you see, and how these environments are scientifically designed, and what to expect if any of you ever become me. Having a situation placed upon you by which you would have to sit in the confines of such a travesty and or pit. And I only pray that many of you never have to overgo any of that, but it's inevitable because they're about to start locking up a lot of people for absolutely no reason. They've already started the shit. And, don't believe me, just sit back and look within the fibers of your very own universe. Well, before I go to San Quentin, let me finish up, because they took me from El Reno, Oklahoma Federal Penitentiary, flew me into a place called Travis Air Force Base. I then went to San Quentin and stayed there for a period of time, because that's what you call reception center, where the state of California will make up its mind as to what prison it wants to send you to. And you're talking about a life that most of you don't know nothing about. Now, anyway, they then sent me from San Quentin to a place called Avenal. Like I told you, that was on 1 Kings Highway in Kings County. And there I contracted a thing called valley fever, which, attacked 85% of it, first off, they didn't send me there, y'all. Check this out, to serve out a 6-year sentence. They sent me there to die. You know what I'm talking about? The Illuminati. Meaning they had accessed the record, just like they did before my first conviction, knowing that indeed I am Atun, and that there would come a day that indeed all what is happening right now would be made manifest. Just like they accessed the record before Baba. Listen now, they opened the seventh seal in 1970 and knew that Baba would indeed be, you see, every bit of who it is he is, and ultimately would eventually become a 33-degree Freemason. Now, however, like I told you, we did a little alterating too, but before it was against galactical law. Why? Because the political summit had not been held. And y'all don't believe me, refer to, the Circle and Square Part 3, those of you who have copies, okay? Now, and what I'm saying is, they had no clue that Baba would do until, listen, he had done it. Meaning, he set up a situation by which he felt he can speak freely on the land by omitting the Om sound on a continuum, releasing a counteracting frequency by which, he had high hopes that they would not be able to infiltrate, and then began to speak freely, saying certain things by which, no, he was not revealing secrets, but he was coming, uncomfortably close to a particular type of line that they did not like. And or feel that, he as a 33-degree Freemason should, be talking that close to. And I want you all to know something. Let me tell y'all something. I have a cousin in Atlanta, right? I found myself on her couch, and her boyfriend, may the Most High be my witness, I then found out was the being who sponsored Baba. Yeah, I'm sitting there with Baba's sponsor, another 33-degree Freemason that told me the whole story. And shortly thereafter, they murdered this being. His name was Harold. He is the one who sponsored Baba. And he's dead now, y'all. Guess what he died from? Cancer. That is the signature of the Knights of Templar. That and one or two other, juicy tidbits that they use alchemically to take you up out of here. Okay? What you don't know. And, me and the brother, we sat and we spoke, and he told me all about it. And, do you really think that, it was coincidence, like I told you, which there is no such thing, that 2 weeks later the brother was dead? They've been killing significant reincarnates now after having access to the record for a long time. Let me tell you something, Joe. They did every one of my convictions was orchestrated. Like I said, they sent me to one Kings County on Kings Highway. I contracted valley fever, and it was, let me tell you something, there was a known spot where there had not been, one incident by which the valley fever thing had occurred, but there were several by which people had died from this. And I don't care what nobody say. If indeed you have several incidents, or one incident, okay, that's an isolated incident. Several, that's an epidemic. You're supposed to quarantine the place. And so much that nobody's supposed to be allowed in there and or out of there until, check this out, that thing is put under control. And it was attacking 85% black people or Nubian, 65%, Latino, and 10% European. And let me tell you something, I ain't know nothing about it. Oh, it wasn't no joke. In a real way, everything was fine. I laid down, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, put my feet down on the floor, and it felt like I had twisted both my ankles. And I wasn't even playing no ball or nothing like that. And then the pain went from my ankles to my knees to my elbows. You ever be lifting weights, curling, and then your arms sort of, when you're going to get tighter, just lift up on its own, that pain you feel? Yeah, well, that's what I was feeling. I ain't lifted nothing. I went to the infirmary and then told them, look here, man, I don't know what it is, but I can't walk. And they said, well, look, here's a couple of Tylenol. We give you 3 days bed rest. Then you got to go back to being, a legalized slave, because they only pay you 10 cents an hour for demeaning work that you do up in there, but you don't know. Had me working on chicken farm, hanging up frozen birds. My hands so frozen, I can't pick one up for hours at a time. And I saw the roster, how much money that place made in a month, and it was unbelievable. And it was only paying brothers 10 cents an hour to do a job that on the street you get $21, $30 an hour for, if you go to a place like Purdue. See, and then let me tell you something, but it goes on 24 hours, called PIA. Prison Industry Association. They click out the slave master. You got, private owners that come to the gate. They click them out 20 slaves. Okay, and then click them out. This one get 20, he go his way. This one get 20 more, he go his way. This one get 20 more, he go his way. Now, when all them slaves get tired, they come back and get 20 fresh ones. And it's a 24-hour machine that's making mad loot. And that's exactly what they're going to do to all of y'all. Check this out. Before they kill you, Because they're going to make a whole bunch of money off of you. Check this out. Okay, I get down there in Avenal, and the next thing I know, I catch this thing called Valley Fever, man, and I'm laying up on a bump. These people tried to kill me. Man, let me tell you what they did. Here it is. The dispensary give me a 3-day bed rest, right? Okay, because you have a job assignment. You go to work. Check this out. You get a 115. A 115 pushes you further back from your date. Like if you're supposed to get out next week, now you get out a month from now with a 115. You feel me? Too many of them, though, check this out. You get pushed way back from your date. Nigga can go in there with a 5-year sentence, end up you doing 10, 15. What you don't know, you see, because you get in fights, stabbing, or whatever, you see, and all that there. Yeah, let me tell you something, man, the whole place carries a particular type of weather that is designed, listen, to bury you and me. And like I said, I pray don't none of y'all have to go. I really do. But anyway, let me finish. Man, I'm sitting on I come in and I'm sleeping in the gym, and you know, I got my little bed rest thing, and I'm sick. This is real. I said to myself, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm finna lay down, nigga, for 3 days. You hear what this snitch, you read what this say, 3 days bed rest. And I'm not playing with none of y'all. I ain't even playing with you, and I'm talking to the police when I told them that. He said, well, go ahead on, lay down, Brady. I said, okay, cool. We lay down. Next thing I know, they say, Brady, come to the podium. And he said, wait a minute, is this fool? I get up, I go to the podium, and they say, you moving over to 330. Building 330. I say, man, you crazy. I can't walk. Did you hear what I just told you 5 minutes ago, fool? And the police said, I don't care what you say, Brady. Get your stuff. I said, man, I can't walk. He said, I don't care. Crawl. I said, who's gonna carry my stuff? He said, I don't know. That's not my problem. A brother said, yo, man, I'll carry you and your stuff. A big brother. And that's exactly what he did. Put me over his shoulder like I was a sack of potatoes, carried me across the yard, all the way to the building. Sat me down on the floor and said, little brother, don't move. I'll be right back. And went and got my stuff. I get up in the building. I said, look at my name, Brady. She said, yeah, I know. They told us you're coming from the gym. And you sleep up there. I got to go upstairs, and this brother gonna put me on a bunk, a top bunk that I can't even get up on, underneath an air-conditioned blower. And I got a temperature of 103-degree temperature. You want to tell me these people wasn't trying to kill me? Just like they trying to kill Baba right now. I'll name their names. I ain't scared of them. Pamela Pitts, listen. Ray Dandridge, Ebon Bill, listen, Bill Need, Martin and Fred Brandon Phil, and the list goes on and on and on. And these are, high-ranking political figures, be they councilwomen and or, head of city planners' offices and, mayors of certain cities right out here, who are the same beings who did Donny Hathaway, use Roberta Flatt the same way they used Lakeisha L. Lewis against me. I don't care what nobody say. Roberta Flatt set that brother up, and everybody know it, that they pushed Donny Hathaway out that window at the Dakota, which is why Baba used to tell you all, stay away from that building. Don't be going out peddling, unless you got somebody with you. Move as a team. Because our brothers was found in the East River with all types of satanic, symbols carved into them, and, dollar bills all ripped up, drowned, dead, done been offered to Lucifer and, by they coonies and fools that was up in that spot. Yeah, but y'all don't know. How do I know, nigga, I was there? Okay, and don't tell me. Go back and ask somebody if you don't know. You'll see, ask Ishay, Abdul Wali. You see, ask Hamza, ask Rubain. Nigga, please. But you don't know, tell me. Anyway, like I say, I almost died. They put me in an infirmary, man. I'm telling you, man, I was laying on a bunk, man. I got like about 5 blankets on me, man. I'm sweating. Then all of a sudden I had a vision that I was standing on a stage and I could see my feet. I had what appeared to be gold sandals on, with a white pleated skirt, with a gold belt around my waist, with that its buckle was a very large symbol of the sun, and I had bracelets on my arms that had musical symbols on them, on each wrist and on each elbow, and around my chest I had a very large, I want to call it breast thing, like in other words, it fits over your head. It looks like the sun, and up underneath that I wore a very large chain that carried a very large crystal, very large. There was a key called the Eye of Rashul El. which I didn't even know at that time would come up at another time, when I would get another glimpse of a time in which I lived.